Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Olebogeng, Gaonathebe, the fourth year student doing software engineering here in Botho University. So before I start my presentation, I'll pose a question of which my presentation will answer. And the question goes like, I've attended the presentation yesterday, and I've heard that there are so many graduates that are unemployed. They mentioned about 6,000 graduates who are still not under the internship program. And they talk about the 4,000 graduates who are on the internship program. So the question is, what are the barriers, what are the stumbling blocks that stop the graduates from getting hired after they finish school? And I've heard that there are so many job opportunities that are there, but the problem is the graduates, they don't have enough skills, they don't have those effective skills that are needed at the workplace. As you all know, the theme of this conference is global employability and internalization. I'll be looking into the insights into learning barriers that have an impact on graduate employability. So my colleagues are not around because of work and school. I'll start by talking about our school, Botho University. This is a university that is here in Botswana, and it has 3 campuses that are in Francistown, the one in Francistown, the one in Maung, and the one here in Gaborone. And these campuses accommodate closer to 400 academic and non-academic staff and 4.5 students. There are different programs that are offered in the school, which include business, computing, accounting, and finance programs. I'll go on to defining the key concepts. First of all, I'll start by defining what a barrier is.
Oh, sorry. Where's the other mic so that we can support the voice? It was okay? Okay. Yeah, but I think they can hear you. Just come a little bit closer to it. Yeah, it's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay, I'll go on to defining the key concepts of the study. First of all, I'll start by defining what barriers are. These are problems that students encounter which affect their learning. And learning is acquisition of knowledge or skills through studying, practice, or being taught. Employability are chances or rates at which the graduate may get hired. Botho University has different departments, and one of those departments is Department of Student Services, which handles all student welfare matters and their relations. And we also have the Career Service Department, responsible for student internship placement and link with prospective employers. In school, every student has access to their own laptop and computer in the laboratory. And students have access to internet anywhere in the campus through the wireless configuration. Many students face problems going on the background of the study. Many students face problems and challenges which result in poor academic performance. Problems may come from different environments, which include the educational system, social, economic, and political environments. And the effects of these barriers, they include student dropouts, high failure rates in school, high numbers of retaking students. Then going into the statement of the problem, there are social and personal issues that affect student performance and ultimately their employability. Botho University has an obligation to devise support services and remedial action to help their students. The institution must go an extra mile to understand the exact problems that students are facing. Going on to the objectives of the study. The objective of the study was to identify the barriers that affect students' learning at Botho University, to explain the consequences and the effects of the barriers, and to identify measures of overcoming the barriers, and to suggest the measure that Botho University may adopt to in order to help the student to learn better. The significance of study. The purpose of this research is to create awareness to the management as well as students of Botho University about the existing learning barriers and what we can do together to overcome them so that we can enhance graduate global employability. I'll go on to defining what is effective learning. This is an act or process of gaining skill or knowledge by learners so that they may use it in future and in appropriate situations. Effective learning requires well-blended learning outcomes, learners' characteristics, learning context, and resource availability. There are different barriers that we experience as students in Botho University, and they are categorized into different categories, which are general, institutional, situational, and dispositional barriers. The other one is lack of motivation, emotional, motivational, and learning disability barriers, as well as the learning environment. Lack of confidence too is one of the barriers, and inappropriate and inadequate provision of support structures and services. As well as lack of human resource development strategies. Then going on to the research methodology. This is an exploratory study targeting the fourth-year students here in Botho University. And we are given the questionnaire to students in two campuses, which is Francistown and this one, Gaonathebe. And we are using the student registers that are used in classes to monitor the attendance, and face-to-face interviews were conducted to follow up the observed attendance patterns. Limitation of the research. The sample did not include lecturers and administrators. Only students from 2 campuses participated in the survey. And the study is based on Botho University students only, therefore cannot be generalized. Finding and analysis. All the respondents agreed that there are barriers to learning in Botho University. The barriers that they identified was, they came from different environments, as I've already said, from social, economic, emotional, and also the environmental barriers. Environment. So I'm gonna go through the barriers that they outlined, which are poor learning skills, poor time management skills, assessment techniques, financial problems, inadequate space on the campus, teaching methods, negative attitude, drug and alcohol abuse, feedback systems, lack of prioritization, learning environment. And as a way of overcoming barriers, the university needs to carry out the learning style inventory. And there's a need to increase student allowance by the government so that this will help address the financial challenges. Students need relevant, up-to-date books to complement the teaching materials. And there's a need to enlarge the school so that there will be enough learning space. And there's a need for continuous staff development so that lecturers may continue to use updated teaching methods. The students must be informed about the support services that are offered by the institution. And the students must set and strive to achieve goals in their studies. And the school have to set up accommodation or hostels in strategic locations. The students, the staff must be empowered and be engaged together with the students in decision making. It won't make sense for the lecturers or the staff members to make decisions alone, whereas at the end, these decisions are going to affect the students. More land is needed for the institution to build campuses and conducive environments. And Ministry of Education may need to consider collecting feedback for all tertiary institutions from members of the public and publicly publishing it. Institutions must provide mechanisms to get feedback from students on issues. And the students have to identify their learning style and adapting to them. They have to take responsibility of their own learning. Students must communicate with lecturers who need to be aware of the challenges that they have. And there's a need to conclude, there's a need for approval of student achievement and student test scores. Schools must provide students with learning support in comprehensive and multi-faceted and cohesive ways. The institution should take steps to ensure that personal development programs take place in this semester. There's a need for assessment methods that require students to reflect on their learning. And higher learning institutions must provide adequate learning resources for all students. And there's a need for students need relevant up-to-date books to complement the teaching material. There's a need to find larger school premises to offer adequate learning and recreational space for students and staff. The students have to be taken abroad to learn and familiarize themselves with how other students learn and what are the skills that are needed for at the workplace in different countries.
All right.
And there's a need to consider providing appropriate accommodation for the student as a way of dealing with the accommodation problem. Workshop and awareness campaigns to educate students on reproductive health and other issues affecting them may be scheduled by various stakeholders. Industrialists may also conduct skill-based workshops to ensure that to share their skills with the students. And Botho must ensure that they provide more support structures to complement those offered by the government and the industry.